My name is Tim Austin, and I'm the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs at Duquesne University. I've worked here for about 2 years, but I've been about 34 years in Catholic higher education in the United States.
I'm Lena Dostilio, and I'm the Director of the Center for Community Engaged Teaching and Research at Duquesne University. I was the university's lead on our application for the Carnegie classification, first in 2010, and then again most recently in 2014. And we will hold our classification until 2025.
Duquesne University is about 130 years old. It was founded by a group of Holy Ghost fathers, as they were then known. They're now called the Spiritans, who came to Pittsburgh at the request of the local bishop to establish a university to serve the needs of immigrant families, mostly from Central Europe at the time. Duquesne is also a Catholic institution, and we take our Catholic identity very seriously. I think that has a lot to do with why we believe that community outreach and community engagement are a very important part of what we do.
The Carnegie classification is an external validation of something that we hold quite dear here at the university. We hope that we've woven community engagement through every aspect of the institution, from our business and management practices, to student learning, to faculty research, through our holistic student development, as well as our role as an anchor institution here in some of our neighborhoods of Pittsburgh.
One of the reasons, I think, why one seeks classification under this system is really related to process rather than to product. I may come back to this later, but I think that if you go in only because you want to be recognized in some public way, while that is important, you're missing the main point, which is that it's the process of assessing where you are, what you've done, what you're doing well, what you're not doing so well, and understanding more about your institution and its relationship with the community around it. It's really important to us that we not be doing a number of different tasks scattershot through the city of Pittsburgh and the region around us, but that we think carefully about the way in which we hope that the sum of the parts results in a greater whole.
Another benefit of seeking the classification is that it gives language to and emphasis on the necessary component of reciprocity that universities and their various community constituencies need to have when they're pursuing engagement activities. It allowed us to adopt that concept of reciprocity and really pay attention to it and ask ourselves the hard questions to figure out, how do our initiatives and efforts embody reciprocity, and what does that look like in a variety of different ways?
There is the fact that as provost, I am always eager to find ammunition, to load my arsenal with arguments for fundraising, both internally when I go to the budget committee and I'm asking for funds, and externally when I go to potential donors, to foundations and so forth. The Carnegie classification allows us to state with some authority that this is an important part of what we do.
From my perspective as a community engagement administrator, the benefits of receiving the classification really revolve around it being a reflective tool for the institution. The classification allowed us to have a common language with other institutions across the United States about what we aspired to do in terms of community engagement, as well as how it would have an impact on all of our constituencies, our faculty, our students, our community partners, as well as the institution as a whole. Having that kind of a framework and having that kind of a common language is really significant when we're all trying to move forward together, especially when we're seeking to move the needle on pressing social and environmental issues. It's really important that we can have goals to strive for and ways to measure what we've achieved. The classification provides us an opportunity to uncover and discover various community engagement initiatives on campus, often that are not very well known across departments and units. It's a way to elevate the good work that's happening and give a higher profile to the various initiatives that occur. It also allowed us the opportunity to engage a very large number of people in our self-study framework. So that included faculty and staff, students, as well as our community partners. And through that effort, we were able to really provide a very full profile of what our engagement looks like as an entire university.
My first piece of advice would be to embrace the process. Then the questions have a point. They have a purpose. And answering them frankly and honestly will teach you a great deal about yourself and your programs and your strengths and your weaknesses. The second thing goes along with it, and that is to be open about acknowledging shortcomings. And so all you're trying to do is to be frank and straightforward about what you do well and what you don't do well. For faculty, I think that the most important lesson learned from the classification is that the university will support the faculty member who decides to commit time and effort to what is admittedly a demanding pedagogy. The university will also support and try to provide resources for that kind of pedagogy. And the classification indicates that the value is high enough that the faculty member can count on continued support over time, that this is not a fad, this is not a passing whim, but that we will take this seriously year in and year out as the faculty member moves through the stages of his or her career. What it allows students to know, what the classification allows students to know, is that there will be a continuum, that coming to Duquesne will allow them to continue to explore that side of themselves and to link that with their academic activities going forward. For community partners, the world is full of higher education institutions. Pittsburgh is an area with a great many of them, and a lot of them will try to place students for various different reasons. Some of them will be professional students, some of them will be undergraduate students, but I think partners are understandably a little cautious about this. They are usually understaffed, they are usually under-resourced, and they're concerned about whether the university is in this for the long haul, or whether they will simply send students in for a short period and then vanish from the scene. I think the Carnegie classification calls on an institution to be in this for the long term.
Community engagement has always been a core priority of Duquesne University. It's found throughout every aspect of this institution. Having the Carnegie classification allowed us to choose a common language through which we could rally our stakeholders, figure out what it was that we were doing really well and what it was that we needed to refine. And as a result, we're a stronger institution. More of our faculty understand what community-engaged teaching and research are. More of our students understand their own civic development and ways that they can amplify that. Community partners have come to trust our institution as an institution that's really serious about the role we play here in Pittsburgh. And finally, as a community, we have a much better idea of what it means to be an engaged institution. And that's an idea that's going to carry us forward quite strongly till 2025.